CCTV footage from Varna Airport shows a man standing inside the terminal, holding his backpack and suitcase, waiting near the check-in area. He looks around slowly, scanning the surroundings as if checking that no one is paying unusual attention to him. For several seconds, nothing seems out of the ordinary. Then he shifts his weight, glances upward, and freezes for a brief moment. Something in his expression suggests sudden recognition or concern. He steps back cautiously. His eyes dart quickly from left to right. Moments later, he turns and begins to walk briskly, not toward the gates, but toward the exit. He accelerates into a run, weaving between travelers. He reaches the airport parking area, climbs over a fence, and disappears into the dense forest beyond. No one sees him again. The man captured on the footage is 28-year-old Lars Mittank. Just days earlier, he had been vacationing on the Bulgarian coast with friends. The trip appeared ordinary. They visited the seaside, relaxed in small restaurants, and enjoyed the summer sun. There were no signs of conflict or danger, no warnings or threats. Everything seemed normal until the final night of the trip. Near the end of their stay, Lars was involved in a minor altercation at a local bar. Reports indicate the incident was brief, and the situation never escalated beyond a verbal dispute. Yet, that night, Lars complained of ear pain. The next day, he visited a local doctor who diagnosed a ruptured eardrum. He was advised to avoid flying immediately because the change in pressure could be dangerous. His friends returned to Germany as planned, leaving Lars behind to recover. He checked into a hotel close to the airport, intending to wait until his ear healed before catching a flight home. Initially, he seemed calm. He unpacked his bag, called his mother to reassure her, and tried to rest. But over the following days, his behavior started to change. He became restless. He would check the hallways, glance at hotel entrances repeatedly, and avoid contact with other guests. Staff noticed his unusual behavior, but could not explain it. Lars made several phone calls to his mother, each one more anxious than the last. He claimed he felt threatened. He spoke about men who were following him. He connected this fear to the bar incident, though no evidence suggested anyone had pursued him. By the end of his stay, his paranoia intensified. He avoided public areas, kept to his room most of the day. When he left, he moved carefully, scanning every entrance and exit. He appeared tense, alert, and fearful, as though danger could strike at any moment. Despite this mounting fear, Lars planned to leave for the airport the next morning. He intended to return to Germany and put the strange events behind him. No one could have predicted what would happen next. After checking into the small hotel near Varna Airport, Lars tried to settle in and rest. At first, everything seemed normal. He unpacked his belongings carefully, placing his suitcase on the bed and arranging items neatly on the desk. He made a brief phone call to his mother, reassuring her that he was fine and that he would return home soon. For a while, he seemed calm and composed, as if nothing unusual had happened. But as the day passed, his behavior started to shift. He became restless, pacing the room, frequently looking out the window, scanning the streets below. He seemed alert to every sound, every movement. Even the normal noise from passing cars or distant voices seemed to make him uneasy. During phone calls, he began to speak in a different tone. He lowered his voice, paused often, and sometimes interrupted himself mid-sentence. He told his mother that he believed he was being followed. He mentioned 4 men who, in his mind, were connected to the earlier bar incident. There was no evidence anyone was actually following him. Hotel staff did not report seeing suspicious activity. Still, Lars appeared convinced that danger was real and immediate. He avoided public areas, rarely leaving his room except for brief trips to the reception. He frequently asked questions about the airport, about directions, about exits and safe paths. He seemed to be planning, anticipating, and calculating his movements. The level of his vigilance was unusual, enough for the staff to remember his behavior later. During one phone call, he asked his mother to cancel his credit cards. He believed someone might try to access his money. Even though there was no evidence of financial tampering, his concern suggested that he felt threatened in multiple ways. He also made cryptic references to a construction company. No one understood what he meant. These details were never clarified. Despite the growing anxiety, Lars tried to maintain normalcy. He washed, ate, and appeared to follow a routine. Yet the tension was always present. He would glance over his shoulder, check entrances, and move cautiously whenever he left his room. By the following morning, Lars had packed his belongings in preparation for the trip to the airport. He planned to leave Bulgaria and return home, hoping to put the unsettling days behind him. But when he arrived at the terminal, the situation would change completely, and his disappearance would begin. The next morning, Lars arrived at Varna Airport carrying his luggage. He appeared calm, walking through the terminal like any other traveler. He checked in at the counter, handed over his passport, and waited for the next instructions. At first glance, nothing about him seemed unusual. But soon, his behavior started to shift. He began looking around repeatedly, scanning the area carefully. His eyes moved quickly from one entrance to another. He walked slowly, almost cautiously, as if trying to avoid being seen. At one point, he approached the airport doctor, explaining the condition of his ear. The doctor examined him and assured him that flying would not be dangerous at that point. Lars listened carefully but appeared distracted. He kept glancing toward the entrance and seating areas, as if expecting someone to appear. For several minutes, he remained seated, holding his luggage close to his body. Then, without warning, he stood up abruptly. His posture changed. His eyes darted across the terminal in a way that suggested fear. Moments later, he began walking toward the terminal exit. Not toward the gates, not toward the flight check-in desks, but directly to the door leading outside. He broke into a run across the parking lot. His backpack bounced on his shoulder. He climbed over a fence that separated the airport from the nearby forest. CCTV cameras captured these final movements. After that, Lars Mittank disappeared completely from view. No one saw him again. No witnesses reported seeing him beyond that point. The forest seemed to swallow him entirely. Airport staff and security immediately realized something was wrong. They attempted to locate him in the surrounding area. Calls were made to local authorities, but there was no trace. Lars Mittank had vanished without a single clue left behind. No indication of where he went. No evidence that he had been abducted. No sign of foul play. Only a missing man. After Lars disappeared into the forest, airport staff and authorities immediately launched a search. Security personnel scoured the nearby area, calling out his name. They checked parking lots, surrounding roads, and paths leading into the woods. Local police joined the search, bringing flashlights, vehicles, and canine units. Despite the effort, there was no trace of Lars. No footprints leading away from the airport. No signs of struggle or abduction. It was as if he had simply vanished into thin air. Friends and family were informed. They flew to Bulgaria to assist in the search. They retraced every step he had taken over the previous days. They contacted hotel staff, taxi services, and restaurants. Authorities examined CCTV footage from the terminal and surrounding streets. The moment he ran from the airport was the last confirmed sighting. Beyond that, nothing was recorded. Searches continued for days. Volunteers and local hikers combed forests, hills, and riverbanks. But every effort led to dead ends. There were no clues about his whereabouts. The lack of evidence baffled everyone. He left no personal items behind, no sign of forced entry, and no notes explaining his behavior. The forest and surrounding area appeared untouched after his disappearance. Over time, the search became increasingly desperate. Authorities considered every possibility: abduction, voluntary disappearance, medical episode, or panic. Yet none of these explanations fit all the known facts. Lars Mittank had disappeared completely. Over the years, numerous theories have emerged about what happened to Lars Mittank. Some believe he suffered a severe panic attack, perhaps triggered by the minor altercation and his ear injury. Others suggest that he may have been hallucinating due to medication or stress. These explanations, however, cannot fully account for his sudden flight from the terminal. Another theory is that Lars may have been abducted or targeted for reasons unknown. No evidence has ever confirmed this. No witness has come forward, and there were no traces of a struggle. Some have suggested he may have intentionally disappeared, but there is no history of him planning such a drastic action. No prior indication of wanting to vanish, and no prepared financial or personal arrangements were ever found. His case became one of Europe's most baffling disappearances. Experts, journalists, and amateur sleuths have debated the circumstances for years. The airport footage remains haunting. The moment he runs toward the forest is replayed endlessly as the last known proof of life. Even today, over a decade later, Lars Mittank's fate is unknown. His disappearance continues to captivate investigators and the public alike. Every theory has gaps. Every explanation leaves questions. Yet one fact remains certain. A healthy young man walked into a forest and was never seen again. Lars Mittank's story serves as a chilling reminder. How quickly a normal vacation can turn into a mystery. How ordinary people can vanish without a trace. And how some questions may never be answered.